What up, world, on a Wednesday? Coop, Mike in the building. Give
Hello.
everybody some time to get in, man. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I got a quick story.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
go
to do
for
it.
it.
So, I'm doing the life insurance thing now, Mike. So I was on the east side. That's like my new territory
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up around here. So I'm in this man's home today. I'm getting him a policy. He's 51 years old. Um, he actually went to high school. He went to Lithonia with one of my cousins, actually, that's older than me. But when I get done taking care of him and everything, we're talking because Mike, he was talking old school Atlanta stuff, Atlanta Live, Heat Days, all that.
Yeah.
He had a, yeah, he had a son in his early 20s there, and I was just telling him about us. I was like, hey, I was like, when I actually get done with my route today, I was like, I got to go do a podcast for According to Hip Hop. And, I gave him the card. He's like, yeah, I'm going to check y'all out. Now, young dude wasn't interested. And then I looked back over at him. I was like, hey, we just talked about Gunna's project. Dude like this, dude.
Yeah, man.
And so I just want people to understand, like, the same way that your favorite rapper when you in your 20s, like, did that for you, just because these guys don't do it for you doesn't mean they're not doing it for some kid out here. Because
For somebody.
as soon as I told him we reviewed Gunna's album, I had him on the hook, Mike. And guess what I heard all day on the east side?
Gunna.
25K Jacket, Mike. I heard that track like 3 times just riding through Rock Bridge, Panola, Flat Rock.
Well, shout out to everybody coming in the room. We got people in the room. Everybody saying what's up. What up to me? What up to Coop? We're going to cover a lot today, man. We're going to talk about this Kool Moe Dee report card that has resurfaced from 2003, from the book that Kool Moe Dee wrote. And we're also going to talk about Pitchfork Media and their review of Nas's Magic album. It took them a while to actually review it, but it actually happened, and other publications are staying clear from reviewing this project. And we're also going to talk about this debate that has spawned on the internet about Fabulous and Andre 3000. I think we've spoke on some of these things before, but I think we want to put it in a little bit of context to our newer audience. And for people out there who are watching this live, tell your friends that we're live. I want to start with this Kool Moe Dee thing, man.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm flexible. So,
Do you have the list in front of you?
no, I mean,
All right. Well, see, all right.
which one? Which one?
Well, I wanted to talk about both pages because the second page is the one that went viral, but page one to me was the more interesting thing, and I'm gonna let you know what stood out to me personally.
Okay.
Well, first of all, first page on the report card, Kool Moe Dee was rating MCs, and you know what? Let me actually give some context for the book as well. The book is called "There's a God on the Mic," and so there's a God on the mic. Let me get back on the camera real quick. There's a God on the mic, the true 50 greatest MCs. In 2003, a book of old school hip hop, a book by old school hip hop MC Kool Moe Dee, where he ranked what he believed to be the top 50 greatest MCs of all time, giving a breakdown of each artist. And his breakdown consists of vocabulary, articulation, creativity, originality, versatility, voice, records, stage presence, sticking to themes, innovating rhymes. Now, I'm on page one, like I said. Page two was the one that went viral. What sticks out to me on page one, first of all, do you see Big Daddy Kane on this list?
No.
I don't see Cool G Rap on this list either.
So, is there something against Juice Crew? Juice
I'm
Crew
not
mentioned?
understanding how Kool Moe Dee leaves off.
Shan's on there, ain't it? Shan on there, right?
Shan is on there, yes.
Shan on there. Craig G on there.
No, Craig G's not on there.
Where's Kool Moe Dee from again? Where's Kool Moe Dee from?
He's from Harlem.
Uptown.
Okay, so all right, before we get into the actual ratings of it all, I mean, again, I don't want to be an asshole and stickler, but this was a book that was actually published. So this wasn't something that was on the internet where it could have been some misprints, whatever, whatever. How do you misspell Rakim's name? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. First of all, the biggest thing that blares at me is the fact that Big Daddy Kane is left off the list altogether. Cool G Rap is left off the list altogether, and Rakim's name is misspelled. Another thing that that sticks out to me as well is KRS-One, the teacher, has a 7 in vocabulary. What were some of the things that stuck out to you? And I got a little bit more, and we're just talking about page 1. What stuck out to you guys in the chat? I want to know.
I'm going to tell you what really stuck out to me on a personal level, because, we just saw Kool Moe Dee, Mike. Who did we see Kool Moe Dee with?
We just saw Kool Moe Dee performing with Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, and Rakim.
Right. Now, who was the opener?
Kwame was the opener. Shout out to Kwame.
And after Kwame, it went to Moe Dee.
It did go to Moe Dee. Yeah. Shout out to Kwame. He was actually the one that invited us to that show initially anyway. But yes, Kool Moe Dee did go. All right, so it was Kwame first, and then Kool Moe Dee went, and then Big Daddy Kane went and ripped shit up, to be perfectly honest. And then KRS came, ripped shit down again, and then Rakim came to close it out.
Right. So I say this to say that just from what we saw and from what I'm seeing, it feels as much of Get Off My Lawn-ish in hip-hop as Get Off My Lawn-ish is going to get. Because, quite frankly, the only people that he really ranked high between both pages, if you'll see, is the people from his era, like Kaz and himself, Lauryn Hill, Big, and Pac.
Well, at this time, I think it's noteworthy that Big and Pac were gone, right? Himself, Melly Mel, and Cass, obviously he holds very high. And this is what I will say.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. This is what I will say. And Kool Moe Dee doesn't get a lot of credit for this. That fast flow and just innovating the flow early on record and on wax and in the battle sense, that's all him. And you know what I'm saying? Like, now, if he gets originality points, a 10 for that, or even a 10 of vocabulary just based on where he was in correlation to where everybody else was, I get that. I think that what sticks out to me about this first page in particular, let me go to this first page, is the fact that the changing of the guards, there's clearly some animosity, or at least there was in 2003, about the changing of the guards. And when we're talking about the changing of the guards, I'm talking about from Cass, Melly Mel, and Moe Dee to Rakim, KRS, obviously Big Daddy Kane and Kool G Rap aren't even on here. Because at the end of the day, when people talk about the best MCs of the 80s, who do we say are the four-headed monsters? Who do we say are the Mount Rushmores of the MCs in the 80s?
Oh, yeah, that's Kane, Kool G Rap, KRS-One, and Rakim.
And they all got slighted on this list. Kool G Rap and Kane aren't even on here. Rakim's name is misspelled, and KRS gets a 7 in vocabulary. What did he give him on stage? He gave KRS-One a 9 on stage presence, which is great, as you should.
Not the 10 it should be.
It's not the 10 it should be. I think we all are very clear on the fact that KRS-One is the best performer in hip-hop. Either him or Kane.
Kane has made me think twice after seeing him live and seeing the verses this year.
I'm with that too. But why is Kane not on the list at all?
Well, okay, so let's see. Let's really highlight what he really did. Mm-hmm. He put his era. He did what most people from their era do. He put his era up high, and then he put the next era slightly below. Because if you look right below, like literally at the top, it says Kool Moe Dee, Melly Mel, Kaz, 95, 95, 94. Then you get the LL, 90. Rakim, 91. KRS, 90. It's like, hold on. No, and no disrespect to Kaz, Melly Mel, or Kool Moe Dee. First of all, Melly Mel to me is the best of the three. If I was picking one, he would be who I would rate the highest. But give Rakim a 91? And I know we're talking about a 91, but you gave yourself a 95 and you gave Rakim?
KRS-One, actually, you remember the tale about KRS-One jumping on stage, or no, I think it was vice versa. KRS-One was on stage, Melly Mel came on stage and wanted to battle him, and KRS-One dusted him. That's what the story is. But
mean, that's
And this was
probably how
like
it happened,
80,
though.
this
Like,
was
I
in
mean,
the
just keep
80s, 87-ish, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
so I
there are
think
very few people ever that could ever step the KRS-One. It don't matter what year it is and not get dusted
you
off.
seen
Like,
this man on stage.
a lot.
So
Seen them all.
yeah, you step on stage right there with KRS in that big voice while you got songs like The Bridge Is Over and he's hitting you with that wah da da dang stuff. Like, yeah, it's not gonna look good for you. But yeah, I've been told that happened and that was real. And I can't. It's hard to think that there wouldn't be. I mean, there's got to be a solidarity, right, between some of those pioneers, and I'm sure they felt the way about that. And again, this list is like over about 20 years old now, so I'm sure that was a little fresher, but I just don't.
Mike, how can you have Rakim and KRS's vocabulary at an 8 and a 7 respectively? Like, I just don't understand.
How do you have Tila Rock's vocabulary as a 10? Maybe I'm too young to understand, but I've heard it's yours. But again, we might be doing this on a scale where it's like this is based on what the vocabulary was at that time. Commentating, illustrating. Yeah, it was crazy.
Right.
He was going in for that time, but to have a higher vocabulary than Rakim, I don't know, man.
I just don't understand it. It just, like I said, that's the part about it that makes it feel like it's get off my lawn, because it's like, well, I really don't understand. You know? Because
I think, again, kind of like what we were saying off camera, is that's why, and I say this respectfully, sometimes artists need to kind of step outside of, that part of rating the culture, because clearly there's a bias that lives. I mean, I think that fans are biased enough. And I think we all have a generational bias. You kind of touched on that when you were talking about the Gunna situation and how people gravitate to that. Everybody is going to hold their era high. But when you have actual artists from a certain era, they're not going to give other eras the credit that they deserve, clearly.
I mean, I want you to understand something. According to his ratings, because correct me if I'm wrong, Jay-Z got an 82. He got Spoonie G and Jay rated the same. What are we doing?
Well, all right. Since we're going to talk about Jay-Z, he's the first person on this second half of the list.
Send me that list right quick, Mike.
Hold on, let me send it to you.
Can you send me the second one? I've seen it a bunch this week. I just, you know how I'd be. I'd be like,
No, it's cool. I'm gonna send it to you right now. But all right. So Jay-Z's stage presence being a 6.
It's very problematic.
I mean, this is 2003.
Arguably the most charismatic person to ever, do this. So he has inherent stage presence because he has presence about him. So,
I mean, even if you want to give it to his songs having presence, his songs have presence enough. Like 2003, You Don't Know was out. I don't know if at the time was Public Service Announcement out, but Give It To Me was out. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jay was hitting big stages. He had done the Hard Knock Life tour. He had done the Jay-Z and Friends tour. I don't know, man. Appreciate the super chat from Reggie Noble out there. We also got our Cash App out there, too, if y'all want to rock with us on that. It's just according the number 2 hip hop on Cash App. We appreciate that,
what
man.
I'm saying. This is why I went to Jay, because it's like, you got Jay at a 7 for versatility?
Yeah. Let me acknowledge Reggie Noble's super chat again, man. 1999 from Reggie Noble. He said, hippo character falling off. Let me see. A hippo character falling off to the ground in a dramatic way, bursting tears with the words, epic fail in the background. Yeah. Go ahead, Cool. What were you about to say?
No, I mean, you got Jay's vocabulary at a 7 and his versatility at a 7 and his stage presence at a 6. I mean, Mike.
Articulation at a 9. I think that honestly, that's one of Jay's strong points, his articulation.
I mean, I'll say this, first of all. The only thing for me that I think I would rate Jay lower than an 8 at on any day would be the voice, Mike. I told you, he has the worst voice to me of all the great rappers. I would give that You know what I'm saying? I would give that a 7. Everything else is getting at least an 8, and that's Jay. I mean, and I'm only bringing up Jay because I know we've been spending a lot of time talking about Nas. You know what I'm saying? And how he's been slighted. But when I see something like that at the top of the list, it's like, how you going to give Jay an 82 and 03? Or even a 99, Mike?
And you know what? That's interesting you say it like that. Let's put it in context. This is 03, right? So Jay's run at that point had been Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, The Dynasty, The Blueprint 2, and the Black Album. We don't know if the Black Album was out yet. Actually, this book dropped November 20th, 2003. So it's safe to say the Black Album wasn't out yet. It was a similar time, right? But anyway, with that being said, that's an unprecedented run in hip hop at that time. And lyrically, Jay kept taking it there, and he showed you his abilities on his first album. So, right. I mean, so it's not like the skill set and that level is not there. To give him a 7 on vocabulary, 7 on versatility, because even if you don't like the changes that Jay made to his style, you at least got to give him points on versatility, right?
I mean, and this is so subjective, Mike. I want you to understand something, because this is what I remember about it. DMX, Lauryn Hill, Method Man, and Biggie are the only people who got 10s for voices. And I'm okay with all of those being 10s for voices, because those are 10s on voices. Mm-hmm. But so is Snoop, Mike.
What did Snoop get on voice?
Got a 9.
Snoop got a 9 on voice. Okay.
What are we doing? Like, that's an easy 10. It's Snoop, Mike. You know it, you knew it from the first time you heard it. It's like, who is that? That's Snoop Doggy Dogg. And you knew it like from there on in.
Let me ask you this, and I'm just pulling this out because it sticks out to me. Buckshot getting a 9 in vocabulary and Jay getting a 7.
I mean, and I love Buckshot.
And I love Buckshot.
He wasn't a complex wordsmith. Dope MC loved Buckshot, but he wasn't a complex wordsmith. He didn't put words together like Jay did. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna have to point to a piece of work from Buckshot that rivals Reasonable Doubt when we're talking about, lyricism. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, did he have him over him on versatility too?
Who?
Yeah, he did.
What?
Buckshot has a 8 on versatility,
mm-hmm.
where Jay has a 7.
Right. I mean, it's a little all over the place. I want you to understand, like, Cannabis is rated higher than Nas and Jay on here, according to Kool Moe Dee.
Let's look at Cannabis, right?
Right.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about Cannabis and where this was at that point. I mean, I don't know if Kool Moe Dee and LL had made up and all that stuff, but as far as the fact that Cannabis went at LL and it turned out the way it did, do you not think that maybe Kool Moe Dee has a kind of a soft spot for Cannabis in that way too, outside of him just being a dope lyricist bar for bar?
Well, let's unpack the Cannabis thing. So, okay. He gets a 10 for vocabulary, 9 for articulation, 9 for creativity, originality, and an 8 for versatility. Stop. Did what? Gave him I get the vocabulary and articulation. Creativity, originality, and versatility? You think he's above an 8 or better at all those things? Because I think very few MCs in the history of rap, to me, Mike, are above an 8 at all 3 of those things specifically. Creativity, originality, and versatility. All 3 of those, you think he's above an 8? Cannabis?
I think Cannabis' Achilles heel was the lack of versatility, honestly. Me as, at that time, especially like trying to rap and, just being fascinated by rap, it was like I could listen to a Cannabis album because I knew that it was coming from a battle rapper's perspective. And if you want to hear battle rap, boom, 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 like from track to track to track, this is the album for you. But if you want to hear versatility, lyrically or just musically, I don't think Cannabis is the artist for you.
Right.
Because when I think versatility, and even if you're thinking on a versatility on a more musical aspect. Let's just say you don't really rock with what Jay was doing, as far as like changing with the times and doing popish stuff. Okay, versatility is also DMX being able to do How's It Going Down, doing Get At Me Dog, doing Stop Being Greedy. You know what I'm saying? Doing Damien. That's versatility. Versatility is Most Def out here doing Umi Says, doing Miss Fat Booty, doing Brooklyn. That's versatility right there. What did you give those people when it comes to versatility? Let's see. Most Def. And he misspelled Most Def's name too, but I'm not gonna be like that.
Most Def's versatility
He gave him an
Cannabis
8.
versatility are the same, according to this.
Okay.
They're both 8.
They're both
So
8.
so this is why now, and Mike, and we're about to do it in a minute. This is why the media exists, though, because you can't trust your peers to rate things fairly and properly. Everybody has their biases, even if they're respected within a circle and a sphere.
Yeah.
That's why I brought up the fact that we just saw Kool Moe Dee right next to KRS and Kane and Rakim. Like, we just saw it, but you see how Kane wasn't even on there, and you see how KRS and Rakim got slighted because they came right after. And so you just have to be mindful about these things. And that's why we, even though we are media, have been getting on the other media about how they're covering things, because we have a responsibility. And this is kind of proof of the responsibility about why you need to handle things fairly and objectively and unbiasedly. Because, Mike, after you heard Reasonable Doubt, there's nobody that really knows rap that should think Jay deserves less than a 90 on as an overall grade for an MC on anything. Like if you were to hear Reasonable Doubt and give him anything less than an A for MC performance, like on all accounts, you wouldn't be being honest. And so the fact that he's getting 82 and this is in the midst of his run,
yeah. I think the big point for me, as far as like when you talk about Reasonable Doubt specifically, vocabulary is what Reasonable Doubt is held high for, because as far as like vocabulary alone, he was rapping using words that not his other peers weren't using, Biggie included at the time. You know what I'm saying? I think Nas separated himself because Nas was painting pictures, and Nas is just gifted in that way. But if you want to talk about sheer lyricism and vocabulary, that's where Jay basically separated himself. And honestly, that's why Reasonable Doubt got slept on to a certain degree, because of how extensive his vocabulary was. So for his vocabulary to be a 7, there's bias there. That's just not. I'm sorry.
I mean, listen. Okay, listen to what I'm about to say. Kool G Rap uses more words than Jay uses, but Jay's vocabulary is more expansive than Kool G Rap's, and Reasonable Doubt is kind of the proof, because it's a lot of Kool G Rap talk on there. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
That's why you hear Jay, you'll hear Jay reference G Rap more than anybody else, because he kind of really knows where like the substance and the content like play off like comes from. Like Reasonable Doubt is so vocabulary heavy, Mike.
Yeah.
Like where he's putting words together in Hustler's context that you never heard other Hustler MCs put those words together, including G-Rap.
Yo, we got 155 people in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and repeat everything that we're going to talk about in this show, because people are putting in a bunch of different subjects. We're going to talk about that Pete Rock and Nas thing. We're going to talk about the Pitchfork media review of Nas's Magic album. We're going to talk about this Fabulous and Andre 3000 debate. Right now, we're talking about this Kool Moe Dee list, or the report card from his 2003 book. Also, I saw somebody in there asking where they could get the hoodie. I think that the link should be in the description. If not, we'll get that to you in a minute. And, we got our Cash App up here for people that want to rock with that. What were you about to say, Coop?
No, I'm just like looking at Black Thought. He has Black Thought ahead of Nas and Jay in 03. And it's like, I mean, in some levels, it's like, yeah, I get you. But on a whole lot of levels, no.
Let's look at Nas, right? Let's look at his rating, because some people in the chat wanted to talk about that.
It's very problematic.
All right, so Nas, he has 10 on vocabulary. I think
that's pretty much it. And then he just gave him 8s pretty much.
8 on articulation. I definitely disagree with that. 8 on creativity.
Originality? Mike, this is a guy who said he saw a dead bird flying through a broken sky once.
8 on originality, 9 on versatility, 8 on voice, 8 on records, 8 on stage presence, 8 on sticking to a theme,
Nobody, like, what are
and
we
8 on
talking?
rhyme innovate. Ho 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 ho! I want to know.
Right.
I want to know what sticking to a theme actually is. Then
Nobody sticks to a theme like he does.
that's his. Once again, just like with Jay in the vocabulary, sticking to a theme is Nas's strongest attribute. Period. That's why he's held high as a storyteller. You know, I think I got
Mike, he
Nas
tells the story
third.
completely.
I got Nas third on storytelling, right? But and I have him even that high because of his ability to stick with whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Whatever he's talking about, he's going to finish it.
I only have Scarface and Ghostface ahead of him as storytelling, and I mean that's because they just hit you a little different. They stylistically are able to do certain things. But if anybody said Nas was better, I wouldn't have no problem with that.
I think both of them, Ghost and Scarface, are more compelling storytellers, but not better. They don't have those lists of story records like Nas has. But I get what you're talking about with the feeling, because when they tell you a story, it hits you different.
Oh yeah, man. Now I feel you, and you know, all that I got is you hit you different.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Nas' stuff sometimes it is like Donald Goines meets Langston Hughes. It's like really entertaining, but it's articulate and well written and diverse. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a different vibe.
Yeah. Sticking to a theme being an 8. I want to know. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to who. Okay, Kool Moe Dee has given himself a 10 on sticking to a theme. Melly Mel gets a 10 on sticking to a theme, and Grandmaster Cass gets 10 on sticking to a theme. He actually gave KRS-One a 10 on sticking to the theme. He gave the Fat Boys a 10 on sticking with the theme. Can't even talk.
Actually, Fat Boys are great at sticking to
No, they are.
To their records, yeah.
Houdini.
I'm with him on that.
Houdini gets a 10 for sticking with the theme. Beastie Boys get a 10.
Hold on. Can we talk about that right quick? First of all, sticking to the theme was much easier in those days because you weren't making as many records. That's one thing. So all of those guys are inherently kind of really, really solid at that because that was the game. You had to kind of find your groove, find your niche, pick your record, stick to the theme of the record.
Right. One love is one love. You know what I'm saying?
What do you want?
Friends. How many of us have them?
Mike, what are we playing? Basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
You know,
Let's go.
Christmas rap, you know? It's what it is. You know, I want to get back to this first page. I know we're skipping around a little bit, but I don't think I covered this. Maybe we talked about this offline. One of the biggest problems, I got a lot of problems with this list. You got Public Enemy, a 7 on stage presence. What the hell are we talking about? You talking about S1W? Like, you talking about Flavor Flav? You got the greatest.
Flavor alone is a 10, Mike. Flavor Flav on stage is a 10.
Flavor Flav on stage alone is the 10. And then we're sitting here adding Professor Griff. And they had a whole army up there, man.
Right? This Chuck D on the mic live on stage, like with Flav behind him.
I'm not even counting Chuck D. And Chuck D is probably the most powerful voice in hip hop. But even outside of him, you talk about stage presence and you put the group Public Enemy, you got DJs, you got a security team, and you got Flav, and then you got Chuck's Voice Radio. Come on, man. What was that?
Mike.
7?
You got a whole movement when they get on stage.
7?
I don't know what's going on.
That's disrespectful, man.
I don't know what's going on.
That's disrespectful.
I knew you were going to bring it up. I was trying not to even talk about
it. No, man. You got a group that made Fight the Power, man. You got a group that goes out there and does songs like Welcome to the Terror Dome. And you talk about their stage presence as a 7? A 7?
And this is after their reign and their run, Mike. Like
after everything, after all the DVDs we done seen, after all the live performances we've seen, you giving Public Enemy a 7?
Mike, to quote Public Enemy, can't trust him.
Man, for real, man. To me, like I said, the biggest thing on this list to me, and I know a lot of people are harping on the second page and with Mystical being ranked higher than Jay-Z or whatever. And shout out to Mystical. I think Mystical is incredibly original. But the biggest thing to me is Big Daddy Kane being left off this list. And I'll put that right there with Kool G Rap. Kool G Rap and Kane being left off this list. Public Enemy being a 7 in performance.
How do you? No, Mike. But for real, how do you document the history of hip hop and go through the '80s and just like kind of like conveniently not rate G Rap or Kane? Like, how do you do that? It's like that's not like Mike. That's not like a needle gap. That's like a portal gap.
Well, the list. Well, the book is about. Once again, I'll repeat this for the people who weren't here earlier. The book is from Kool Moe Dee's book from 2003. There's a God on the mic. The true 50 greatest MCs. So I guess they're not included in the 50 greatest MCs. Said in 2003, the book by old school hip hop MC Kool G Rap, Kool Moe Dee, where he ranked what he believes to be the top 50 greatest MCs of all time, giving each artist a breakdown. So based on this book that was published, and it wasn't like some list that we put on the internet that people might, oh man, I forgot about this, or us even doing a live. This is something that was published. Had a publisher, you had time to write this, you left Big Daddy Kane and Kool G Rap off of your top 50 MCs list. And then you misspelled Rakim's name too.
Puffy's on here. You understand that?
Puffy is on there. Well, Puffy did make a song in Spanish. You remember he did Public Enemy #1 in Spanish? Yo soy Bad Boy Familia. Listen, man. Puffy's on the list and Big Daddy Kane's not on the list, man. Because you know what happened was, man, I'm sitting here, I think I was going down the list and I saw that Public Enemy got 7 in stage performance, and I was like, because again, you and I saw Kool Moe Dee, Kane, KRS, and Rakim, and I was like, live, that is. I was thinking like, okay, well shit, I wonder what he gave Kane for live stage performance. I'm like, wait a minute, Kane ain't even on here.
I mean, Mike, if you actually look,
and Master P. Yes, somebody said, yeah, Puffy and Master P.
If you actually look on the second report card, Nas and Jay actually have 2 of the lower grades on here.
Of course. Of course.
Next topic.
Of course. You know, again, man, this reeks of... It's like when you see different eras of NBA stars trying to downplay certain players.
It's very problematic.
That we know or don't. Some people got the ammo to do that. Wilt Chamberlain could say whatever the fuck he wanted to say. And you just got to eat it. But certain people don't need to be speaking on Michael Jordan. Certain people don't need to be speaking on LeBron James. It just is what it is.
It's very problematic with what it is.
You know, so, I mean, I know we could go on and on about this. And I know we're going to get to the next topic because, I mean, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, really. But
we need to get to the next topic.
Oh, there's some other things that jump out to you because
no, Mike, we could literally do a whole show unpacking all of this. That's what I'm saying. This is like, if we keep on doing this, we just don't keep on going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Well, how do you feel about Sticky Fingers having a higher grade than Jay-Z?
The way that I should. I think it's an atrocity.
Does he have a higher grade than Nas too? He probably does. Because Nas's grade is
an 88.
Yeah. Sticky Fingers has an 88.
I mean, he thinks Sticky Fingers is better than Raekwon and Common. And Mos. And Thought.
Wow.
And Corrupt. Feel me? That's what I'm saying. Like, we could dissect this all day. We'd be here all day. I like that Tretch was rated so high. I think you and I had the behind-the-scenes conversation earlier this week about Tretch. Like, there are some highlights, like Tretch being rated that high. I really like that for Tretch. He doesn't often get his flowers. Top-notch MC and lyricist.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Tretch is amazing. I wish that, I wish we could have got more. Hold on. What did Pac get? Okay. Pac got a 9 in vocabulary, 10 articulation. Yeah. He only got a 8 in innovating rhymes. Okay. Huh.
The guy who made Dear Mama doesn't make innovating rhymes.
But you know what that is, though.
No,
That's
I
that
don't know
whole
what that
lyrical.
is.
That's that whole criticism that Pac gets because he doesn't do that lyrical miracle hip hop.
You're right. He does Dear Mama and so many tears, and
You know who else is off of this list? Speaking of which,
I'm mad at you.
you see Scarface on here.
Pour out a little liquor. Mike, I told you we would be here all day. I was trying not to touch that.
You see Scarface on here.
See, no face mob. You already know I'm pissed.
So Mace is in his top 50, yet he has a 79.
Made the diary.
Master P is there, but he has a 76.
And the fix.
Yeah. Listen,
Man.
all right. I want to end this. I want to end this topic with this.
Untouchable.
There is a reason why the people and what we're doing right now is so powerful. Why the people need to collectively make these decisions and these type of lists, because when you leave it up to one person, no matter how great or impactful they are, there's an individual bias there. Reggie said, "Where's Rakim?" Rakim was on page 1, and he misspelled his name. It's right here. I want to go to this Rakim rating real quick, and we can leave. 8 in vocabulary, 10 in articulation, 10 in creativity, 9 in originality, 8 in versatility, 10 in voice, 10 in record, 7 in stage presence, 9 in sticking to a theme, and 10 in innovative rhymes. He got Rakim in the vocabulary department. He got him there, and he got him in versatility. I don't understand how he has an 8 in versatility and Cannabis has an 8 in versatility. One man made Paid in
Mahogany.
Full and My
Maybe
Melody
Mahogany.
and Ghetto and Mahogany. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The lady, you've seen an all world cover girl. Yeah, that's Rakim.
Well, you know what, man? I love the internet and the fact that
Rakim loves Mo Dee.
who?
Rakim loves Mo Dee.
Oh yeah, of course he does.
Inspirations, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the blogger who actually got this thing going viral. Let me find her name real quick because I always love to give people credit, man. But in the meantime, there's been a debate sparked on the internet. It is very interesting. Reason from TDE, he got on with Van Lathan and said that Fabulous is better MC than Andre 3000. I think we have talked about certain sentiments before on this show. Where do you want to start with this?
No,
man?
you
do
first.
you want me
Go
to
ahead.
start?
No. I'm gonna take my time.
Okay, I'm gonna take my time with this. First of all,
take your time.
First of all, listen, I want people to understand that I don't like to pat myself on the back on anything, but I know we got a whole bunch of people in this room. I'm very confident that I probably know more Andre 3000 lyrics than anybody in this room. I would love to challenge that. Any song, any verse, whatever. I'm born and raised in Atlanta. Outkast in the middle of their run, their prime. I've listened to their music backwards. I've seen the article that I've written about Akumenai and how high I hold Akumenai. It changed my way of even looking at hip hop altogether. But what we have to stop doing is we have to stop pulling Andre 3000 out of Outkast as if he is an individual and he can be compared to other individual solo acts. It's just not fair to anybody. I think the best way to put it, and we know how skilled Andre is as an MC, as an individual lyricist because of his work in Outkast, the best way to do this is just say Andre's disqualified from these conversations. Because if we want to break it down, me and Cooper on the phone earlier, let's go verse for verse, right? Just to put things in context. And I think I compared it to like a three-point shooter. Let's just say somebody went out there and shot 10 threes in a season and they made 6. Yeah, you're 60% from the field from 3, but you're not going to be in the rankings with a guy who shot 100 threes and made 45, you don't qualify. And I think that just based on the lack of solo material, we don't even know if we would like an Andre song with 3 Andre verses. It's never happened. It's never happened where we actually heard an Andre song where he had 3 verses and a hook. We don't know what that even sounds like. We don't know if Miss Jackson is better or worse if Andre has 3 verses and there is no Big Boy. We just don't know. So we can't sit here and act like we do. Let me go down the list, man, because we broke this down earlier when we were on the phone. Let's look at Outkast albums and how many verses that Andre has to produce per album.
We did this morning in the car. Well, I was in the car. You were at the crib, yeah.
Southern Playalistic, Andre has 14 verses on that album. ATLians is his most output when you talk about verses. 16 and a half verses. Aquemini, as great as it is and as great as he was on there, 12 verses, 12 rap verses. Stankonia, 13 rap verses. Now let's do the math.
That's a long project too.
12 rap verses. 12 rap verses for the average hip hop artist. That's 4 songs. That's 4 songs. So if we're looking at like Water for Chocolate or whatever, by the first 4 or 5 songs, Common has written and spit more verses than Andre has on a whole album. And to put it in further context, The Blueprint, Jay got 42 verses on that album. It was written, Nas got like 37 verses on there. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. DMX has like 37 verses on there. All of Outkast's catalog together, and even counting Love Below and the 3 verses he had on there, is 56 Dre verses. So all we talking about is 56 verses. Life After Death.
And a half if we're being technical.
I counted Life After Death too when we got off the phone.
So
Biggie has 48 and a half verses on Life After Death. Is that what you got?
How many? Because I counted Life After Death while you were on your rant because I knew you were about to take a minute.
48 and a half. 48 and a half verses from one man. So
how do you have 48 and a half? Did you count Player Hater? Is that why?
I didn't. I think the half comes from I Love the Dough.
Where'd you get the 48 from? I got 45 and a half. That's
you got 45 and a half? Okay.
I got 45 and a half verses. But okay. Mike, so this is what I'm saying.
Even that. I mean, we're talking about somebody who has been gone for 25 years and he still has more verses than Andre 3000.
Mike, actually what I was about to say was so take Biggie on Life After Death in those 45 and a half verses. And then, Mike, listen to what I'm about to do. Go put in Who Shot Your Dreams in the One More Chance remix, and that's more verses right there than Andre 3000's ever did for Outkast.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, you have.
I know a lot of people. Ready to Die or any of the other guest appearances too. So
I know a lot of people.
So Biggie has like double Andre's output, almost.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are gonna say quality over quantity. Well, I've never heard a whack Biggie verse. Just in his perspective in that sense. And also, you have to factor in the fact that when you show up for one verse, not only do you have the ability to put all of that in there, and I know he addressed that on 16 Ain't Enough, but there are advantages to that as well because you're automatically a highlight. When you sit there, let's just do this. Let's just say we take one verse from Silent Murder and put it on a random Mobb Deep song. Yeah, Nas is going to stand out. But when you got 3 of those verses, you're standing next to yourself. Mm-hmm. So the wow factor is balanced out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's disqualified. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Andre ain't great. Andre's a great MC in an incredible group. If we want to talk about Outkast and where they stand as far as groups, duos, and all that go, we can have that conversation. They qualify for that. Big Boy qualifies for individualism, but we can't sit here and say someone who doesn't even have one single song with 3 verses in their 27-year career is qualifiable to go, to debate up against somebody who's done that their whole career, no matter where their skill level is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying who's better, who's worse. I'm just saying Andre is just disqualified from this conversation altogether. You can't make a legitimate argument without it being an emotional argument.
Well, I told you I didn't like this for Fab because of the weight class Andre is always considered to be in, even though there's a brevity of material. It's not fair to Fab. He can't win that fight fairly. And that's why I did go directly to Big, because Big is somebody who, much like Andre, for different circumstances, extremely brilliant with brevity of catalog. And so what I will tell you is that I get what you're saying about the disqualifications, and I would have to agree so. Because, Mike, it's like, you and me had this conversation. It's like, we don't know if he can make a Dead Presidents or The World Is Yours.
We don't know.
Or Follow the Leader. Or I Never Seen a Man Die. Like, we don't know if he can make that record. But here's what I will say. Anybody out there that feels like that he's the greatest MC that you've ever heard, Biggie's the guy who you're really being disrespectful to, because he wasn't really better than Big when Big was here. Big's features are better. Still to this day, Big obviously has a solo MC and performer. It's not even a question, or at least it shouldn't be. And even though Andre is great with his delivery and with his voice, I know somebody better. My name's Biggie Smalls.
Well, the thing is, you can't even really compare, because it's like,
it's like I say this all the time. Catalog.
I say
no, for Andre, that's for everybody that keeps like talking about how great Andre is. It's like we need to start throwing Big back at him a little bit. It's like, yeah, Big all did all that except for like solo.
Well, this is the thing. You know, you see those memes all the time, and I know we're going back to a sports analogy because, you know, that's what we do on this show. You see those memes like, who do you want taking the last shot? And it was like, you know, Reggie Miller and Ray Allen. And the thing is, I'm going Reggie Miller all day, because Reggie Miller has proven when he is the guy and he has taken on the offensive responsibilities of his team in big time situations, he has proven that he can do these things. Yeah. We only saw this from Ray, and I think Ray is incredible, but we saw this when he had a cast of people. And you know what I'm saying? And we could think whatever we want about Andre bar for bar, but we've just never seen him do what Big's done. We've never seen him make A Reasonable Doubt. We've never seen him make A World Is Yours. You could think that he could do that. Shit, we've never seen him make Never Seen a Man Cry. We've never seen that on a rap level. And I think that, you know, Love Below was brilliant on a songwriting level, but on a rap level, we haven't seen these things, so I think he's just disqualified. I mean, somebody in the chat asking J. Cole or Andre, again, he's disqualified. I can't even...
See, that's what I'm saying. You see what people keep doing, though? It's like they keep putting people that they know that, like, has an MC when you hear them, even if they're great. Like, Fab and Cole are great. Nobody thinks that they're as great as 3000 who's been listening to 3000, but not fair to the work that those guys put in to just even make it a conversation. That's what I'm talking about. So if it's going to be a conversation, let's make it a more fair one. It's like, oh, well, why Big got more verses than Fam and Big ain't here? And Big gave us One More Chance and Juicy and Everyday Struggle and Give Me the Loot and 10 Crack Commandments and Kick in the Door and My Downfall and Long Kiss Goodnight and What's Beef. Like, it is literally ridiculous.
How old is Reason? Look at my. How old is the rapper Reason? He is 35 years old, right?
Right.
So the last time that Andre was actually really active as an MC, he was probably like 15 years old, right? I mean, he grew up on Fab shit. So what's he supposed to say? What's he supposed to think?
That's what I mean. You can't knock him for that, because it's like he might not even know how great 3 Stacks really is. Like he probably doesn't revere a record like Wheels of Steel the way that you and I do, and the way that we talked about it this morning.
But that's what happens when you're inactive, though. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even talking about Outkast. I'm talking about Andre as an individual. When you're inactive, and especially when you're inactive in a way where you don't even go out there and perform your old stuff or even revere your old stuff, I mean, a current generation just doesn't view it the same way. It's just what it is.
I'm trying to level it out a little bit more because, Mike, you want to know what it's really turning into? It's turning into the biggest what if that doesn't involve a tragedy in the history of hip hop. Like, most of our what ifs are tragedies. Scott LaRock, Biggie, Pac, Easy, Big L, Pun, Left Eye. Like, it's usually centered around tragedy. This is like this has more of like a this feels more like a play even than reality. It's like one of the most talented guys ever doesn't have it in him to show how great he is. It kind of reads
Well,
like, you know,
listen,
it's
how
almost
great are you?
Shakespearean. Like, I hate to bring it up, it's very
I was
Shakespearean.
gonna say though, how great are you as an individual if you don't have it in you? It's just what it is, and I think
No,
we're
I mean,
not. This is
Mike,
the
there's
thing. We're
evidence.
not
There's
giving Big
evidence.
Boy
So
enough credit. We're not giving Big Boy enough credit to what not only he adds to Outkast, but what he adds to Andre. He
we
made
have no,
Andre feel comfortable enough to get on the mic.
we have evidence that he can be that guy. The Outcast projects are the evidence. It's just the evidence is old now at this point. And quite frankly, I'm going to tell you, the audience, like I was telling you in the car, well, shoot, it sounds like most of these hits are Big Boys now when you look back on it in retrospect anyway. Players Ball, Southern Playalistic, AT Aliens. What that sound like to you? Rosa Parks. I told you my aha, hush that fuss. Everybody move to the back of the, that's Big Boy. You know, so it's like if you actually start So Fresh, So Clean, Mike. So like when you actually start going and looking like at the hits, I mean, if you really want to have the conversation is really, did Big Boy use all his peak solo records on Outkast records? Because that's what it's starting to sound like to me.
Well, this is what I will say about Big Boy, and I think we've covered this on a previous show too.
Sound like he could have had a real great solo career if some of these records are solo records, because he's shown the propensity to go give you solo records.
To piggyback off of that, though, I feel like that the Outkast brand and where Outkast was taking music, you know, chiefly on some of the direction of where Andre was going artistically, it handicapped Big Boy where Big Boy couldn't go out there and do Big Boy type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like they took it so far as a unit that if Big Boy were to go out there and put out a solo record with stuff like West Savannah and like the record that he just put out, people overlook it because it's not Outkast forward thinking type of way. You know what I mean? I think if Big Boy would have dropped like a solo album in the midst of them doing like Benz or Beamer and AT Aliens, he would have shined. But once they start taking it further and further, it was like the Outkast brand was more so benefiting Andre as a soloist than it was Big Boy. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Listen to AT Aliens. Every day I sit while my nigga be in school thinking about the second album at the dungeon shooting pool. Like, he's in go mode and laying down the tracks. And it appears to be, to me, in retrospect, that is more how that relationship worked after the first album.
Yeah.
Dre was off on whatever wave that he was riding from album to album, and Big Boy is staying locked in. And what I'm saying
and
is
adjusting to whatever.
Adjusting to whatever. But Mike, I'm talking about the quality of these records. He did most of this stuff waiting on Dre to come through, and Jay's jumping in, and he's jumping in wonderfully and brilliantly because that's who he is as an MC. But Mike, this is Big Boy's solo career on a lot of these records.
Yeah. Leroy Green says Big Boy makes Andre's eccentric rhymes sound cooler. And you know what? I think for a lot of people who weren't a part of just, you know, their whole run, they didn't see how people thought a lot of the stuff that Dre was doing was weird. Now, it was never one of those things where he wasn't spitting. You can never deny that. But Big Boy made whatever Dre was doing cool, whether it was the blonde wigs, whether it was the shoulder pads. And people would ask Big Boy about it, and Big Boy would co-sign it. And that went a long way. And that gave Andre the freedom to do whatever.
It didn't go a long way, Mike. It went all the way.
Yeah, that gave Andre the freedom to do whatever because he knew Big Boy was right here. And, you know what I'm saying, that was anchoring, I guess, the foundation of Outkast.
He held the street aesthetic of Outkast down. Hip-hop is still something built, what, Mike? In the streets. Big Boy held that down when Dre was off riding those waves.
No,
yeah.
For real.
Yeah, for real. And making dope records in the process. So, you know.
So, yeah, again, they're
more
a unit.
About Big
they're
Boy.
a unit.
Once again, we need to be talking more about Big Boy.
No, I agree.
Like, we got to talk about the one that want to rap. You know what I'm saying?
Now, Big Boy's better than Fab, in my opinion. And if somebody wanted to say something else, I can't disagree with that, whatever. But I mean,
the
just
regional bias is really going to show itself because everybody from up top is going to tell you Fab, but everybody from down here is going to tell you Big Boy.
And I just think that, honestly, man, Andre's just disqualified from the conversation altogether. And I say that respectfully because We can't, and I've said this even when it comes to Lauryn Hill, and I know the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is a beautiful and incredible album. I don't know if it's a hip hop album. It has hip hop elements to it. It's a hip hop album, might not be a rap album. But with that being said,
not a hip hop album, Mike. It's an R&B album.
Okay,
it's a solo album.
It's
a solo album
R&B
of hip hop moments. The Final Hour and Lost Ones. Other than that,
Doo-wop
too.
Doo-wop, and she got a verse on Everything Is Everything. But yeah, that's more rapping than Dre ever did on Love Below, though. If we want to be 100.
Well, this is what I kept saying. This is like, no. Lauryn Hill showed very, very briefly. It's like, no, I can make classic hip hop records.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill showed that she can make Lauryn Hill showed that she can make a rap record.
Records are 10s. Mike, all 3 of those records are 10s.
All 3 of them are 10s. She showed that she can make a rap record with 3 verses and a hook. Dre has never shown that.
By herself. And if you want, she'll sing the hook too.
She'll sing the hook too. And see, even with that being said, that's one album. So it's like,
sing the hook.
Do I think that she could have done a sophomore and third album just as great or somewhere at that level? Yes. But I'm not going to sit here and act like it happened. It didn't happen, unfortunately. And for whatever reason that Dre doesn't want to rhyme or doesn't want to have a solo career or doesn't want to just be active, period, that's his prerogative. But what we're not going to do is just sit there and give you fantasy points off of just, you know what I'm saying, off of what we think could have happened. Like you said, this is a coulda, woulda, shoulda, or a what if, rather, that doesn't even need to be a what if.
You know what?
You're alive and breathing.
You know who Andre reminds me of? Like another sports analogy in reference to how people talk about him. People talk about Andre, the MC, the way we talk about Barry Sanders, the running back.
Somebody said that in the chat, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because we do, but here's the thing about it. Barry Sanders played, 10 years, Mike? 15,000 yards, 100 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, like 5 or 6, 1,500-yard plus seasons. He got a resume that speaks to the adulation, and he's got the plays to go with it. Dre just got the plays. Like, he got the runs. He got the Barry Sanders runs. Barry Sanders had 15,000 yards and averaged 5 yards a carry. Like, he got the bulk and the numbers to back it up. Dre don't have the numbers to back it up. He just got them 50-yard Barry Sanders runs.
Miss Mo says, Dre says he gets anxiety when he... Shoot, hold on. Chat's going by so fast. Dre said he gets anxiety when he tries to write now. Hollywood fame. The thing is, listen, I've heard him say this too, and I've heard the whole stage fright thing. He's also said that Outkast as a unit, when they were, making the album, it felt like that the expectations weren't there. So it gave them something to reach for. But once the adoration and the expectations got there, it felt like they had nothing to do it for, at least, from his perspective. But see, my thing is, that's what greatness is truly a testament of. When you got somebody like Stevie Wonder, he didn't just sit there and say, you know what, I made, I don't want to say Songs in the Key of Life, but before that, I made Innovisions. I can't follow this up. You know what I mean? That's when you're great, when you make Innovisions and then you come back and you're making like Songs in the Key of Life, you make Talking Book, you do all this in a decade.
Actually, I get you, Mike. I think it's like Talking Book.
I'm all out of order. Talking Book's first.
Talking Book and Intervisions, it's like Stevie wasn't scared. Stevie went and banged out like another 3 or 4 classics.
After you make Purple Rain, you go out there and make Sign of the Times. Like, you make after you make Off the Wall, it gets the reception it gets. You take it up a next level, you make Thriller. Like, this is what greatness is about. And even if we take it on a rap level, like, you think there weren't times where Jay was like, I'm uninspired, or Jay-Z, that is, or this album was way too successful for me to follow up, or this hit was way too successful for me to follow up. You follow it up. That's what great individuals do.
So he spoke to something, and
look at Kanye West. Shit.
Yeah, he spoke to something, and he spoke to it a few times, and it's like what he's really speaking to is like, okay, there's some mental health issues going on, okay? That's essentially what he's talking about when he's talking about his reluctance to rap. He's talking about the manifestation of some mental health issues if he's speaking about anxiety or difficulty with people and all those things, okay, go get help.
And that's fine. Like I said, you ain't gotta...
No. Let me stop for a second.
Go ahead.
And here's why you go get help. Because for whatever you feel about rap right now, rap is what took you to where you are. Let's not get this confused. And so if you're having issues with the craft that took you to the heights, to a place that you can actually get help for these issues, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't just come out here and tell the public that you have anxiety. You have the means, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding to do something about that.
But you know what? On top of that,
don't use your mental health against us. That's not cool. Like, you got resources to go see about that, fam.
But even if that's not being used against us, right? Like, if you don't want to make any music anymore.
Every time he talks about not wanting to rap, Mike, he goes back to this anxiety, this hesitancy. Those are mental health issues. Stop feeding the public the mental health issues for why you don't, unless you're going to go get help about those issues. Don't just tell us that you got these issues and then don't get no help about it, brother. And tell, well, I'm not rapping because that's an issue for me. Well, it's like, okay, go get help. You have the money, the time, and the resources.
You could do that, go get help, and you don't have to rap anymore. But we can't
even have to tell us that. That's what I'm saying. It's
right.
Like at the point that you tell us that, you put yourself on Front Street more and open to more conjecture.
But we're not going to sit here and rank you on what could have been and should have been. And like I said, Outkast has an incredible, illustrious catalog between the two of them. But that's exactly what it is. It's Outkast's catalog. It's not Andre's catalog. So we're not going to sit here and say, okay, Fabulous or Dre, and then we're just pulling songs from Outkast's catalog. That's not fair. I mean, just point blank, period. And we're not going to do that. And so, like I said, I think the best way to do it is just say, you know what? Andre's just disqualified from individual conversations.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's disrespectful because you don't have individual work. You have to earn that individual adoration to be pulled out as an individual.
I mean, Mike, he doesn't have no Keeping It Gangsta or Breathe. Like a Mike performance solo where you're like, no, they got nice.
He does. I mean, even if we go to Q-Tip, he doesn't have a Bonita Applebaum as a soloist. He doesn't have a Vibrant Thing as a soloist. He doesn't. It's just, they don't exist.
Mike, I told you, he's never even done a Get a Hold off Beats, Rhymes, and Life. That might be Q-Tip's best Mike performance.
He doesn't even have Butter, what Phife did. Shit, he doesn't even have a West Savannah, what Big Boy did on the Kool Moe.
West Savannah's classic.
It is. It's brilliant. You want to talk about this?
West Savannah.
You want to talk about this Pitchfork review?
You know, we might as well.
Let's go into it. So, you know, I hate that we have to keep talking about this, but we do. And, you know, a lot of publications on the mainstream publications, they are reluctant to review Nas's Magic album for whatever reason. Pitchfork Media has finally come with their review. And you know what? In the suspense,
they must love the smoke. Like,
they gave Magic a 6.8. A 6.8 out of 10. They gave it a 6.8 out of 10, but again, you know, just like everything else, everybody has their opinions. But what we read into on this show and what we want to talk to the fans about is the tone and how things are being positioned. I want you guys to also know that they gave Playboy Cardi's Whole Lotta Red like an 8.3. Listen, man, you know that we respect every generation of this hip-hop shit, man. I tried to listen to that album today. That shit is trash, man. Like, it's trash. Okay. The writer of this one, I think it's interesting to note as well, is going to be, what is it, Pete Torsoli? Come on, Pete. Let me put Pete on the screen real quick. Pete actually wrote the review for King's Disease 1 for Pitchfork. He skipped King's Disease 2 because, you know, I guess they got a new writer. Forgot the gentleman's name. We spoke about him in a previous show. But I guess they called Pete back so he can go ahead and do his review on Magic. So, my take from this, before we get into it, you know what? Let me get your take on it, and then I'll get into it.
Oh, we're not into it?
Well, I'm about to read some of the article. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Oh,
putting
you
on the
about to
screen.
get into it,
Yeah.
No,
We're
no,
about
no,
to
Mike,
get into
before you do
it.
that, first of all, understand like how this machine is working right now. We totally blew up their spot about King's Disease 2 and how it got rated.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going back to the original writer of King's Disease 1 to try to gloss over like their like blatant blunders and miscues, which is fine. First of all, you're not doing what you think you're doing. He didn't rate King's Disease 1 properly. And I said that when we got on the guy that wrote King's Disease 2. And how does the King's Disease 1 review start? By talking about Illmatic.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this is noteworthy as well. They gave King's Disease 1 a 6.3. Magic gets a 6.8. Again, there's a lot of tone in here, but what I pulled out from this particular review, there's a lot of $5 words here, unnecessarily too. And I think me and Cooper talking about
words,
this.
Mike, he got to get paid. You're saying it right. He got to get paid as a writer. He's writing for his life because he's scared of a day job, to quote Common. Bunch of $5 words. Once again, we have another review. It's really not a review with a bunch of backhanded compliments, a bunch of misinformation that's filled with what I like to call good rhetorical writing style. All these people we're talking about, like, I want you to understand, like, I'm a writer too. I've been a writer my whole life. Like, these guys are wonderful writers. Mike, I don't write the way most of these guys write, even though I'm capable of it, because it'd be a lot of bullshit.
All right, this is what, and I agree with you.
The difference between using your words and just using a word.
It's a lot of overusage of words here in a way where it seems like he's trying to talk over the audience. I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. I ain't no dumb nigga, right? I'm pretty educated. A lot of these words in this article, I had to go look up for myself. Like no, Mike, what's he trying to say?
No, Mike, all jokes aside, and I'm not being funny when I say this, none of the words missed me, but that's part of the reason why I took issue with it. I'm like, this is a hip-hop. This is what I keep trying to express to people. Hip-hop is something that is based on the angst of our community and an outlet that we use creatively to express it. The emotion and the intent matters.
Well, all right. Well,
so all these words without emotion or intent are fine anywhere else, but they're not fine here. It can't just be the beautiful words. That's why I don't write my shit that way in here.
I agree with you, but my thing is like when you're writing in this way about this project, about this artist with this tone, who are you writing to?
Right.
Who are you talking to?
About rule number 1, Mike. Know your audience. That's why I'm about bringing up the emotion and the intent. These are guys that are more concerned with their writing portfolio and making sure their writing style comes off for the next job than being embedded in reviewing the music of the culture properly and using the diction and vernacular that pertains to this culture, not to your education and not to your vocabulary level. Mike, you know what my vocabulary is like. I could write these articles a whole nother way in these reviews that I've been writing in the last 5 years.
But at the end of the day, what will be the point? Because this is about speaking to our people.
Right.
Speaking to the hip-hop. Like, who is this written to?
Right.
Because the motherfuckers who you wrote these words for ain't listening to Nas Magic. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Shit, ridiculous. Right. I'm tired of explaining this because you as a writer, these are things that you know, like Mike, when you're talking about the tone, those are things that you're taught as a writer very early on. There's a certain tone. The tone is based on the audience.
Definitely. Let me get into it real quick because we could go on and on about
Mike,
that.
That's not even high school English writing. That's middle school shit you learn. Because I remember, because I'm a writer and always had aspirations to be one.
All right, let me get into the article real quick, Coop. Let me get into the article. All right, so the first
college degrees, don't know 7th grade English shit.
The highlighted sentence is Nas is pointing this, which means basically he's a poet and writes images. He said better at writing couplets than albums, and Magic proves he's still a transcendent rapper when he allows himself to be. So this article starts off with there's an unwittingness poet sequence at the end of Magic. Nas' 15th studio album. The final track, I don't even think I'm there with the people. Let me go back. All right, there we go. All right, so the final track, Dedicated, is a pure middle-aged Inuit couched in a wistful pop culture references. The sort of preoccupied nostalgia trip Jay-Z perfected on 444. Nas name dropped Mike Tyson, Kimura Lee, and Carlito's Way, alluding to some compelling ideas without really exploring them. It's breezy enough that you can almost forget the kids these days grumbling. But the chorus, I dedicate my life, a simple repetition of a invasive self-statement, is tantalizing in its eloquence.
Invasive statement, tantalizing. Right. What the is
that? Let me keep going. At 48, the Queen's native continues to enjoy his institutional acclaim, afforded one of rap's most prestigious talents. A survey of the latter-day catalog yields mingling and short-lived crossover and self-indulged concept records. The cynical musing of a bitter divorce. To what did you dedicate your life?
Musing of a bitter divorce. Like, is he trying to submit a thesis for college, or is he writing a music review for Pitchfork about Nas? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, what is up with these dissertations from these corny ass dudes?
No, and then he says, but even all right, let me go back to that sentence.
Here, like, there are intelligent people in this hip hop sphere. It's like, dude, I just heard a whole bunch of tantalizing, and dude, like if you're talking about the bars being tantalizing, like Hit Boy's synthesizer use on production samples, like what are you talking?
Well, let's be honest. Says Mike, you're misreading at okay. I guess he means misreading it. Let me go back to that last sentence. A survey of the latter-day catalog yield just a medley of short-lived crossovers and self-indulgent concept records. The cynical musing of the bitterly divorced. Excuse me. To what did you dedicate your life, Nas?
Hold on. First of all, Mike, you did miss a couple things. It didn't change anything about what I had to say because this is the same bullshit.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, he dedicated his life. What are you questioning here? Exactly. Like, what did he said? What did you dedicate your life, Nas? What did you dedicate your life, Nas? To music, well, clearly.
For those of us who actually have been, around since 94-ish, it's probably talking about hip hop in the music business. Seeing how he's been a hip hop artist since he was a teenager. And he's almost 50 now.
He's been
what are we doing? What are we doing?
He's been the chosen one since he was a teenager.
And here's what I want people to understand, and here's why I was talking about how the agenda works. We're going to jump back into the agenda right quick. Oh, they've heard all the smoke that we've been giving other people about these constant Illmatic references. So he very gently couples Illmatic and It Was written together in the article to make it seem like he's not just referencing Illmatic to criticize. We see that bullshit. You see, and this is what I want people to understand. And you said it very well, Mike. They literally sent somebody in to talk over our head like we are not intelligent enough to understand that this is some bullshit.
But honestly, he said a bunch of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, these words, these $5 words were honestly put in places that they shouldn't have been put in. And it really didn't add anything to the article. It just added confusion to the art. Because nothing he was saying made sense. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about? Okay. All right.
It's a microcosms of misgivings and a cornucopia of poor choice words.
Exactly. This is, what was his name from In Living Color? In the jail cell. Dang.
My brother.
Huh?
My brother.
He was like, the constellation.
Yes.
All right, let me continue this real quick.
It's Mr. Ugly Man. Marlon Wayne's in Living Color.
Magic points out the hard-to-earn craftsmanship and humble cultivation of a blue-collar meter. It asks you to overlook his mid-career miscues and late-career misanthropy, which is just as well his listeners have long clamored for the return of the 90s protagonism, and Magic is the most meat and potatoes Nas has on the record in years.
90s protagonism.
Misanthropy. Come on, man. All right, so Nas has a... Nas has a dislike for mankind.
And first of all, Mike, I mean, this is what I'm saying about how this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Most of the Nas hate started in the 90s. He wasn't a protagonist in the 90s. He's always been anti-establishment. 90s protagonist.
Well,
what is he saying?
Let me ask
what
you
is
this.
he saying? Mike, I bring that up because he don't know what he's saying. Feel me? Because he don't know what he's talking about.
All right, hold. So let me ask you this. Like, it says...
You don't know. It's just words.
What part of Magic? No, what part of the album?
We know big words too. We know big words in this community. Hey.
What part of the album asks you to overlook his mid-career miscues? Because it said it asks you to overlook his mid-career miscues and late-career misanthropy.
It's a backhanded compliment. It's saying this music is so good right now, it almost makes you forget like the mid-career crisis is what he's trying to say. But then he still just gave it a 6.8. But that too. But Mike, but then he just gave it a 6.8. He don't know what he's talking about. Once again.
All right, let me go back to it real quick.
Once again.
Okay, where are we at?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, he said Magic is the most meat and potatoes Nas record in years. Speechless cast back to the it was written and that enthusiast, with the spoken intro and peeling mandolin instrumental.
Stop for a second, Mike. Stop right there. That's how I know that they listen to us, because I've been the only one out here talking about this project in reference to it was written on terms of Nas's lyrical capability.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Let's see. Let's see where they actually say something. A flashy performance with
dude out here talking that way.
Let's see.
Piecing it together. So cute.
The album maintains a springly 95 BPM clip, opportune for its focus and verbal acrobatics over Nas's usual sermonizing. Anything faster is liable to trip him up. Anything slower, and is practically comatose. He's practically comatose. Yeah, I mean,
backhanded compliments all over it.
It's like
review, but they're calling it his best meat and potato albums in years. You see, they're really scared right now. That's how we know we got them shook. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
Unsurprisingly, these songs are far from habitable. Hold on.
Streets that we done took. You walking with your head down, scared to look.
All right, hold on real quick, Coop. Unsurprisingly, these songs are far more habitable than Haggering Fair of the 2018's Nasir and the 2020's King's Disease, similar to the 2004's Good Morning.
What does that mean? What does that mean, Mike? Explain it to the people. Tell the people what that means.
Well, basically, he starts off saying that Nas is rapping in his in the BPM speed that he wants to. I guess he didn't hear that 40 side record on King's Disease too, because I mean Nas sped it up and sounded very comfortable doing that.
Spicy, YKTV, 27 Summers.
Yeah, he said anything faster than 95 BPM is liable to trip Nas up. Anything slower, he's practically comatose. I don't think that's accurate. I think that the fact that
I mean, Mike, since he want to get technical, there are BPMs on that album that are more than 95, and you and I both know that.
Oh, definitely. But again, it sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it's cute. You tried to make it seem like you knew what the beats per minute were. That's cute too.
Again. Like you want to sound like you're doing the work, but not really doing the work.
Sound like you know what you're talking about. You don't. I hope Hit Boy put all the BPMs up, because then he getting called a B-list producer in here.
Oh yeah, he called him a B-list producer. Let me get to that real quick.
Funny. I'm a B-list producer till he started working with Nas.
All right, hold on. Let me get to this right here. It says the truth packs battle rhymes, with bright imagery. And he goes through the quote, and then all right, hold on. Let me get to what he had to say about Hit Boy, because a lot of this is a knock on production, and I don't think that this lacks production on no end. All right,
Mike, Meet Joe Black, Speechless. The truth, like these are great beats.
All right, here we go. But he's never content with low stakes grandeur. On Ugly, he's promised yet another King's Disease installment for 2022. Although Magic steers clear of Nas' Achilles heel, his notoriously poor judgment of his own strengths. It's compromised by the presence of Hit Boy, a thoroughly B-list producer who's helmed the last three Nas records. Hit Boy's depthless beats are stately at a distance, but chiseled up close. Basically, he's saying that shit looks good from afar, but when you get up to it, it's trash. And then he says, like music playing through a mangling iPhone speaker.
Mike, I normally don't say this because usually when these things happen, you're usually more the proponent on it. But I would appreciate it if everybody would jump on this guy's Twitter page and just verbally stone him to death today for thinking that he knows what the hell he's talking about and having the audacity to like wrap around and like do it twice. And it'd be cute by Mike. He been listening to us. Like it's all in the article because like
he's probably in the chat right now.
Oh, it's all bad for you, fam. Like it's all bad for you. Like, because you don't know what you're doing, and Pitchfork needs to stop sending suckers into our culture. Like, you guys are trash. You guys, I mean, like, just call me and Mike before y'all do a review. Like, get a black person in the room. Do something. Like, I hate to say it like that. Get a black person in the room.
They got a black person last time.
Not your black friend. Like the black person that might intimidate you or bother you to be next to. That person. Put them in the room and listen to this shit. Like, get something.
He continued on Hit Boy real quick, man. He said, the cheering melodies of Hollywood Gangsta and Woo for the Children each sound a half chord off key, and when he tries to conjure a golden era ambiance with the digitized synthesizer, it lends the air of a Vegas review. Not to play fantasy sports, but DJ Premier is literally right there doing the turntable cuts on Wave God. Did no one think to ask him for some loops?
Nobody asked you for this review. You still did it.
Well, I mean, we did ask for the review. I wanted them to review it. I think that it's interesting that,
I don't want them to review anything. They suck.
All right. People are asking for this guy's Twitter, man. All right. This was, what's his name? Pete. How you say his last name? Torcello? Tosiello.
Won't take long.
Let's see. Let's go to the actual article so people could see the name.
1 second.
Yeah. He's easy to find.
Won't be a problem at all. Give me a memento.
No, it won't be a problem at all. I think that the disrespect to Hit Boy, I think that's really interesting.
Mike, that's Tosilio. Pete Tosilio.
Tosilio, that's what I thought.
That's Italian.
Yeah, Pete Tosilio. Listen, to say that Hit Boy is a B-list producer in this era, it's just inaccurate. You know, regardless if you're a fan of Hit Boy's, you know, beats or production or even the pairing with him and Nas, it's inaccurate. Because again, I've been critical of the pairing because I wanted to see other things, right? But I'm not gonna sit here and call Hit Boy a B-list producer. He's not. He works with everyone from Big Sean to.
Let's go back to the Mike. We got to go back to the narrative again. When has Hit Boy ever been called a B-list producer?
Right. But that goes back to the narrative of Nas and his beat picking skills.
Right.
So it's like, let's go to that.
Struggles with beats. That's the narrative. And so thereby Hit Boy just got knocked down as a producer a notch. That's how serious it is. These guys are terrible. They're all over our culture.
Okay.
It's like eradication season. Like, Mike, we got to get rid of the pests, the vermin.
And I hate to bore people with this, man, but I mean, this is one of those reviews where you have to read the actual whole thing. You know what I mean? And let me get back to this real quick so we can get on.
It's bad. It's bad for these people this year.
Where were we at? Okay, I think it's the backward facing part. Yeah. Let me get over there.
We're all over the place like this very wordy, poorly written and reviewed article.
He said you could knock Magic for being backward facing, but then again, all of Nas's music is backward facing. Instead of calling him a nostalgic MC, he called him backward facing. All right, it's charming when he revisits his own gospels, but the nostalgic act would be easier to swallow if it weren't so resentful. The King's Disease records, are joyless Grammy bait, demanding that the award committee ignore the elephant in the room. Needless to say, they've complied.
Mike, that whole all that you just read, that is a writer reaching for words. That's what we call a writer reaching for words.
Why you say that? What makes you say that?
It's the diction that he's using. He keeps trying to find more and more adjectives to get a point across without becoming disrespectful, charming, nostalgic. He's word reaching. People got to understand what's going on with the narrative. Like, I'm a writer and I use you know how my words are, Mike. Like I talk the way he writes, so I know what he's doing. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
And it's some bullshit. Like, I do that when I'm on my bullshit, Mike. Use my words to get people.
Well, we're
like I do,
to the end
like
of
I
this
know
article.
what he's doing. I do it to people. I do it to people like in the flesh. I use my vocabulary and my diction and my tone to tone it my way. Like, that's what he's doing as a writer. He's just ain't about to get no ends here. So,
this is the part that I found interesting too, because again, it seems like Khalees was brought into this article just like it was in the Rolling Stone article we talked about.
Part of the narrative
last
now.
week.
He's an abuser. Remember, Mike? He's an abuser. We got to remind people he's an abuser.
All right, so it says the specter of his ex-wife turns up as a scapegoat on Ugly, where he says, "Grown men jealous outside. It's grown-ass women that'll have you set up to die." I don't think that was a line about her. And then he said,
"So Mike, he doesn't know his catalog. Nas has made references like that about women from the jump. Mike, watch them niggas on It Was Written.
Yeah."
He took them straight to your safe. You doubted it could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been saying that about females. So,
and he also references "Woo for the Children." One girl for the rest of your life. One girl for the rest of your life. Is that realistic? Some had told me they like when I call them all type of bitches. Hold on, let me finish. It says these are grievances from the Bitcoin millionaire. Music defined less by what it is than what it is not. Druggy, minimalist, or improvisational. Last sentence, and then we're done with it.
Put his last name up so people can go find him. Pete Tosillo, Tosiello. Yeah, I'm quick. I only need to see your name once to memorize it.
Last paragraph. But this is what Nas does. If Illmatic and It Was Written have an explosionary flaw, it is that their inmates, capos, and Queensbridge Park winos are whittled to their fates. His characters rarely exhibit agency of their own, which become a convenient narrative device when your wife walks out and the audience gaze drifts from New York to Atlanta. Now, Nas needn't be a tragic figure, and his endless cataloging of things taken from him. Record deals, a happy family, a seat at the throne of hip-hop is something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. All that's left is to go through the motions. Wow.
What is he talking about? This is like the happiest nigga in rap right now.
No. He says Nas is bitter because
that's what I'm saying. Mike, this is the proof that he don't know what he's talking about. This is like literally the happiest guy that you'll find in rap right now. He's literally rapping his ass off. He's literally making all the money. He literally has his legacy. He's literally like a bachelor. Like, he's literally having a great time. That's part of why the music has been so good.
You know what's really interesting, though?
Having a great time.
You know what's really interesting? It's like on the final paragraph, they always get personal. I should have just skipped to the final paragraph. It was like a whole bunch of stuff, and then you get to the final paragraph. I want to read this one more time because there's a lot in this right here.
We're suffering. We're already suffering.
He said his characters rarely exhibit agency of their own, which becomes a convenient narrative device when your wife walks out and the audience's gazes drift from New York to Atlanta. That's a whole diss to New York, period. And then he says Nas needn't be a tragic figure, and his endless cataloging of things taken away from him. Record deals, a happy family, a seat at the throne of hip hop is something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. All that's left is to go through the motions.
Go get this guy. Just go get him. Like I don't even want to. I don't even want to have to do it.
Let's say Atlanta.
Like,
basically,
go. No. Like the people. Like y'all take care of him.
Wow. He did. He dissed Queensbridge too.
Mike, let me go ahead and say this, Mike. If Jay gets treated this way the next time he drops a project, I'm about to have the same energy and the same smoke and the same type of reaction and behavior.
He said that the seat of hip hop's throne was taken from Nas. That's what he said. He said record deals, a happy family, and a seat at the throne of hip hop was taken from Nas. That's what he said.
And I'm saying he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about because he doesn't.
That's very off. But again,
damning. It's not even off. It's just damning critique. But we're used to the damning critique. It's like, okay, some more suckers.
Miss Mo said he's watching right now. I'm sure. I mean, give us some insight, sir.
I don't care. I'm not your friend. I ain't come here to be nobody's friend. I'm not your friend. Got no desire to be your friend. Got desire to cover this hip hop shit unbiasedly and fairly though. So that's what we're gonna be doing. And anybody not doing the same thing gonna catch this. And if you got a problem with it, really don't care. So pull up, make your comments. I'll come up on your show with no notes, like I've been saying I'll do.
You know, it's unfair, man. I think that to bring personal things in, I think is out of pocket, first of all. And I think it has nothing to do with the album that you're reviewing. I think that even when you listen to Magic, Nas isn't even talking about a lot of these things that are being brought up.
He's just rapping, Mike. He's just rapping.
And it's taking some of his lyrics and rephrasing them and taking them out of context and trying to apply them to things that you write up in a news story. Trying to apply some of these lyrics to Khalees, I think is irresponsible. Just because he says the B word doesn't mean he's talking about his ex-wife. You know what I'm saying? Just because he even talks about the fact that, you know, being with one woman for the rest of your life or whatever, doesn't mean he's talking about his personal, you know, ex-wife experience. He could be talking about somebody he dated a month ago, whatever. Who knows? But to apply these things to that is irresponsible, especially for someone who has so many words for so many scenarios and situations. I mean, again, it got personal even with Hit Boy, calling him a B-list producer and saying the seat at hip hop's throne was taken from Nas. Like, who has that seat? Exactly. Like, who are we talking about?
When are we talking? What are you talking about? What are we doing once again?
I don't know, man. But again, Pitchfork Media, let me give you guys the writer of this, you know. Go tell Pete what y'all think about it, you know.
I think I'm going to tell Pitchfork Media what I think today, Mike. I'm not worried about
you know what? Yeah. I think that's even more. Yeah. Let Pitchfork Media know what you think about the review. I'm sure they posted it on their Twitter.
Not if they're smart, but they probably
I'm sure they have. So. They're probably very proud of the review. But a 6.8.
Well, you know, you can't fix stupid, Mike. You can't fix stupid.
I didn't.
Tell me that you can't fix it, Armand. Stop trying to fix it.
I didn't mean to bore you guys with that, and I'm sure I was tripping over some of the words and the sentence phrasing because it just didn't make too much sense in the tense that it was
Mike,
given.
You're fine. See, think about it. This is what I mean about when you're actually a good writer and you're actually a talented writer. You're more concerned with the flow and making sure your point gets across than using a bunch of words to show that you're a talented writer. Like, your talent's going to show if you got it, period, because people will gravitate to your work with whatever writing style or medium that you choose. In this format,
It
The
feels
emotion and the intent matters.
it feels like the Nas articles keep getting more and more disrespectful, and I hate that we have to
But
continue
the
to cover
music keeps
this.
getting better and better, Mike. It's literally.
It's crazy, man. It's like, again, we don't want to be on this microphone acting like, we just caping for this and that. Like, but dude, if we didn't
Just
say anything about this stuff, it wouldn't be right. We have to.
It's not right. It's been, Mike. I mean, just for me personally, this is like what we're doing is the number one reason I was okay with getting in front of this camera when you asked me to, because I was totally cool with staying in the back. But about some of this shit that I see, especially how the media runs it, I just had enough.
Everything happens so fast. So we have to kind of take this stuff on as it happens. I guess they thought they were gonna sneak that article past you Nas fans, but they didn't. Y'all hit our Twitter early this morning when that review came out, so we appreciate y'all for that. I don't want to really even talk about the next story, but I guess we have to because people are asking us to talk about it.
Yeah, we gotta be fair.
Gotta be fair.
I got some thoughts about that.
Okay, well, it's being reported by Page 6 that legendary hip-hop producer Pete Rock is set to sue Nas over Illmatic royalties. So, here it is in the article by Page 6. They say groundbreaking hip-hop producer Pete Rock says that Nas hasn't paid him a cent in royalties for his work on the rapper's era-defining double platinum album Illmatic, and he finally is gearing up to sue, Page 6 is told. Pete Rock and his attorneys claim that the Queens rapper, Nasir Jones, signed a contract that would allow the producer to cut a cut of the proceeds from the classic track, The World Is Yours, a total that's now in the millions of dollars. And we're told that the lawyer of Pete Rock has repeatedly demanded that Nas honor the alleged deal to no avail. Rock has a writing credit on the tune, the only single in the 1994 LP that actually went gold, and produced it, and even provided vocals. Now we're told that Pete Rock's legal team is prepared to file a lawsuit in January. Let me go on and continue this. And it says, we're told that Pete Rock told Page 6, Nas and his people have stonewalled him since 1994. My New Year's resolution is to be compensated for the hard work on Illmatic. The track is the song most sampled from the hip-hop artists from Nas's catalog, according to insiders. It has been sampled by Jay-Z, Eminem, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and the late Mac Miller. The song was also used in the film Antoine Fisher, directed and starring Denzel Washington. Apparently, Nas has a better relationship with other blue-chip producers who worked on his album, DJ Premier, who had produced tracks on Illmatic, guest on tracks Wave God, which was featuring A$AP Rocky from the surprise album he dropped on Christmas, Magic. Okay, what do you think about this story? Exactly.
It's very problematic and I don't like it. I don't like it for a few reasons. On a personal note, that's the record that made me really fall in love with hip hop and dig into hip hop and dig into the guys that came out before Nas was that record. So I hate to see the two creators of probably my personal favorite hip hop record at odds, but also too, Mike, gotta kind of be honest with you, kind of felt like there was always a rift because the only pairing that these two have together is this all-time great classic pairing with no other pairings. You and I have spoken behind the scenes and on camera about why the hell Nas and Pete Rock ain't worked together. There's obviously something going on. But let me tell you who I'm siding with, though. I'm siding with Pete Rock. Nas need to pay Pete Rock if he hasn't paid Pete Rock. This is utterly ridiculous to me if the things that Pete Rock are saying are not true, because this just goes against, quite frankly, a lot of the things that Nas has been representing in terms of being anti-establishment. And just on a hip-hop level, isn't he the last guy you would expect to hear getting sued from somebody that he's worked with? Wouldn't he be on that list of people? It's like, ain't nobody gonna sue Nas about no money for no beat. A, because he has such a reputation. B, he has the money, Mike. He been had the money for a long time and got the tech money. He need to cut this check and make this go away. And I mean that. He need to cut the check and make it go away.
Well, I mean, now that you say that, I just think it's very interesting that Pete Rock is being, just basically blocked out of the process, and it seems like there's no level of transparency there, but somehow Pete Rock has been involved in a lot of the anniversaries of Illmatic, right? And we're talking about 27 years. So how long has this been going on where he hasn't been getting the proper royalties? And
Right.
has he expressed his grievances even when they meet up for these anniversaries and stuff?
This is what I mean about there's obviously something that's happened in some rift somewhere, Mike. He is literally the only producer that Nas has an all-time great record with that he never went back to. He's gone back to everybody he's done work with. Primo, LES, Large
Well, he has
Pro.
something on the Lost Tapes too, but again, they made a big deal about that. And I follow Pete Rock on Instagram, and Pete Rock was, excited about that record too.
I
So
don't even know how that
that's what's
record,
confusing about this, and the fact that
like,
there has been some workings. I have heard, and I think it might be from MC Search. Y'all let me know in the chat if if y'all have heard this story too. But there was an issue even originally with payment from that beat before Illmatic came out. So I remember hearing those stories too, and I always attributed that story and how it went down to the fact that they never worked with each other moving forward. But again, I mean, Nas wasn't working with Search anymore, so I don't know. I mean, it's just, and then this comes out, and I don't know, man. It's like, it's confusing. Is the grievance with Columbia or is it with Nas?
that's what I mean. If
Who
what Pete
owns
Rock is
this?
saying is true, because Pete Rock is not saying it's Columbia.
He's
saying
not.
it's Nas's people. That's why I said if that part of it is true, because that really is the key part is, well, who's really responsible for this?
You see, Jay Mayer
Search?
says Nas doesn't own Illmatic royalties, though. And that's the interesting part where it's like, we need some sort of clarification. I haven't been on, Pete Rock's Instagram or anything. I don't know if he's providing any clarification on it. But I think a lot of people in the chat are saying similar things. They think that the owners of these records who have the ability to give royalties on these records are Columbia, Sony, possibly Search, who knows? But the fact,
So
like you said, Nas is getting pulled to the carpet for this. It's like, I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
let's stop for a
We
second.
need more details.
We do need more details, but here's what I'm going to submit to everybody about all of that. So let's say Sony getting paid, Columbia getting paid, Searchlight Publishing getting paid. After they get paid, is Nas still receiving a royalty check for The World Is Yours? And is he shared any of that money with Pete Rock? Because even if we can break it down the channel some more, if Nas is receiving royalties from The World Is Yours, no matter where it's falling on the food chain or who's getting paid before he gets that check, if he's been getting those checks, and Pete Rock, who has the production credit, has the producer, has a writing credit because he is helping sing the hook,
Yeah.
is not being paid, that's wrong.
But that's what we don't know, though.
Right.
We
need
don't
to find out.
know
But
if Nas is getting.
What I'm saying is that regardless of who owns it, Nas has been getting paid for The World Is Yours the entirety
We
of
don't
this
know
time.
that.
In form or fashion, and we need to find out where it lies.
But we don't know that. And see, the thing is, basically the way a lot of these deals are structured, the producers get paid before the artists do. So, like you said, if it's getting trickled down to Searchlight Publishing or whoever, we're just saying, I don't know the particulars
Columbia
of it.
Search.
If it's coming down from ASCAP, BMI, and then it goes down through Sony, Columbia, Searchlight Publishing, then some of that trickle down needs to go to Pete Rock. It's not on the artist in getting their royalties to go back and give it to the producer. That comes from the publishing companies themselves. I think that this kind of gives the notion that Nas owns this. And we don't know that. I don't know any of it.
Illmatic got put together on some hood shit, Mike. So there might be some agreements and handshakes that was in place about that we may not know about. Illmatic got built out like that. This is before the industry was the machine. This is Nas going up to Mount Vernon and chilling in Pete Rock's garage. This is Nas going to Q-Tip's basement. You get what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't the industry really involved outside of Search and Faith.
It's
I mean
unfortunate.
Faith Newman, not Faith the singer.
Yeah, right. It's unfortunate, and I hope that, like you said, I hope it gets resolved. Like I said, to even be able to place any kind of judgment or give an opinion, I need a little bit more details on the actual ownership of the record. And if Nas owns Illmatic and everything that it has outright, then I get it. But if that's not the case, then there's some other grievances outside of just Nas. I mean, kind of like the Travis Scott conversation we had. I don't like the fact that the star has to take on the burden of a team effort. You know what I'm saying? He's not the only player in this, but in this article, seems like Nas is the only player. It's almost like it's written in a way where it's like you and I write a song. Well, I rap a song, and you write the hook, you produce the song. I go to public with the song, and it goes double platinum, and I'm not breaking off any of that money with you. That's the way it's written. But that's not the case of how this was put together.
I get all of that too. And Nas has for the most of his career been like a really quiet guy. But what I'm really trying to stress is that like I wouldn't even have let this gotten to this point if I was him. Because it doesn't benefit him at all, even if he's right in the situation or hasn't. It just doesn't benefit him.
Yeah.
And so about it not benefiting him, I would have circumvented it.
I think that at least the line of communication should be open. Like, even if, like you said, that isn't the case, or even if it is the case, it shouldn't get to a point where Pete Rock can't get in touch with anybody.
Right,
it has to go to the media.
And I hate to say it, it's like sometimes a couple $1 million will just make all this go away, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like behind the scenes. Like a couple $1 million make this probably go away behind the scenes.
Everybody in the chat's mentioning MC Search, Sony, and Columbia. And I do think it's interesting.
And that's viable, but it's like we don't know enough. We can only address what got stated. What got stated was Nas.
No, that's real. But again, like you said, we don't know enough. And but it's interesting that, like you said, he's the only person stated. And the fact that even in the article, I mean, you would think that if Nas somehow bought that album, right? Which I have a whole soapbox about masters and, artists from a certain era. You're not getting that stuff. But if somehow he did, I think that it would have been indicated in this article that back in 2017, Nas bought his masters for Illmatic and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's the case. I don't know. But
I think he's cool with not owning the masters till Illmatic.
It is what it is. I mean, anybody who released something on a major label in the 90s or even 80s and it's huge, you're not going to own that stuff. You're just not. They'll let you own the stuff hereafter.
Does Michael Jackson own Thriller?
He probably does, but he had collateral. This is Michael Jackson's situation. We like to throw around Michael Jackson.
Didn't walk into Thriller owning Thriller. He was getting the best deal.
He got the best deal, period. But when he was able to negotiate, when he got the Beatles catalog, people wanted to make deals. They didn't want him to have that catalog outright. So Sony wanted to be like, look, we'll give you whatever you want for half. That's the deal. But if you don't have that kind of collateral and you don't have that kind of Michael Jackson star power, you're not getting your masters. It's not going to happen.
Better be Prince, better be Michael Jackson.
Because they don't have to sell it to you.
Yeah.
And honestly, when they do sell it to you, they might off you, allegedly. Who knows?
Special.
So, but even with Michael Jackson's epic deal, though, Joe was able to leverage their Motown success and their Motown deal to get that deal at CBS that later became Epic. So, yeah, I mean, that's a little different. But when you jumping in your first contract, you ain't got no negotiating power.
I think Raekwon talked about that during the verses the best, about like the lesson learned about the route of getting on and dealing with the industry and then being independent and being out on the own and doing it for yourself. But he was talking about like, no, everybody got to take that lesson though.
I mean, as fans, we get that classic material, and for the artist, like he said, it's that lesson. And you pick up and move on. Unfortunately, the way the industry works a lot of the times, they get your best work. And
Oh
then
yeah,
by the time you get to the point where you know enough and you're able to move on your own and own your stuff, they've moved on to the next person and they put all their resources in that person's best work. And you know what I'm saying? And you're just left with your hardcore fans.
and right, and also too, Mike. You want to know why he may not care? Illmatic never moved like that. It's still one of his lower selling projects. Probably.
They're saying it's double platinum here. You see that?
No, Mike. Listen, what I was about to say.
Yeah.
If you actually go from calendar year to calendar year, if you go from April '94 to April '95, yeah.
You know what? You know, since
it's got a thriller, Mike. It's got a thriller feel. It don't got thriller numbers attached.
Oh no, of course not. It's game changing. But I think that the aura of this album, and especially like with the resurgence of vinyl and people buying vinyl again, I think that spiked the numbers too. Because Illmatic's one of those albums that you can go buy in vinyl. And I'm sure people have.
Mike, you just made me think I need to go buy Illmatic on vinyl when we get done here.
I'm sure a lot of people have, though. But I'm saying, like, when I read double platinum, I was like, damn, I didn't know Illmatic was double platinum. But in today's era, I can see that.
Year, Mike. 300,000 units the first year.
Yeah, I'm sure it's done like 300,000 units last year or something. They said the top selling vinyl was Kendrick's Damn last year, though. Speaking, and you know, we would be remiss if we do a whole episode and not mention the possibility of a new Kendrick album. What's coming out Friday, man? We got Corday coming out Friday. I think Joey Badass is releasing something, but it looked like a film.
I heard he had music coming too, so there might be some music attached.
It could be. Let me ask you this though: Super Bowl coming up. You know what I'm saying? NFL playoffs. We got a halftime show from Kendrick. We got a new Kendrick album coming. What you think,
Mike? I told you that the first playoff week goes by, and we don't hear anything about him dropping a project. I'm gonna start sliding over into your corner about him not releasing a project around the Super Bowl. We literally have about, what's today, Wednesday? We got 4 days to the first playoff game, sir. We will see what those commercials and those ads start looking like, and we will see if he doesn't pop up in the rotation and on the scene.
Do you feel it in the air, though? Do you feel that there's a possibility for, I mean, just based on the climate right now, do you feel that Kendrick might drop a song in the next week or so?
I feel like we're getting the album before my dad's birthday. That's early March, so.
Oh, so you think it could possibly be after the Super Bowl?
Time frame, Mike. Within the time frame, like if he's going to be on the stage at the Super Bowl, he hasn't released a project in 5 years now.
This is my thing, man. Like if I'm performing at the Super Bowl, even if I'm spitting just a 16-bar verse at the Super Bowl, I'm gonna give y'all 10 songs or something, man. Like this is the biggest stage in the world. I gotta put something out. You're in your prime. You're not like Snoop, Dre, Mary, and all of them. You're really, you know who he is on this roster? He's Anthony Davis. No excuse. You're in your prime, bro.
You know, it would be nice if we wake up on Super Bowl Sunday to like a 12-track EP or a 12-track album just like dropped out the middle of nowhere before the night of the performance. That would be nice. That would be his style.
I mean, really, man. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you just get a project, Mike. Do not be surprised if you wake up and get this project.
Listen, I would be very surprised.
Because as soon as he just drops it, the word, Mike, just off the strength of it being so long, and the fact that when he left, he was king. It's going to go.
Do you think it's going to happen?
Huh?
Do you think it's going to happen?
Yeah, Mike, I do actually think it's going to happen. I think he's coming.
LP says that Kendrick has to drop this year.
I think he's coming. I just don't know how much it's going to matter because Pusha, Gibbs, Conway, KD3 on the way. It's like, where do you fall in all of this now?
LP says that Kendrick has to drop this year. What if Kendrick doesn't drop this year? What does that do? What are y'all gonna say if Kendrick doesn't drop in 2022?
I mean, and he already passed like the statute of limitation. He got to start over, right?
Well, we'll see what Kool Moe Dee thinks about it. I want to know though. Like,
what project is he on? Okay, so we have his first project before Section 80. That was the one that had "She Needs Me" on there. That was the song that really got me into him. Actually,
are you
coincidentally
talking
enough.
about Overly Dedicated?
Overly Dedicated. Yep, that was it.
Overly Dedicated, Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly. Are we going to count Unmastered? I actually like some of the shit on there.
I like The Love Will Get You High as this.
I like that shit, actually. So I'll count that. It's a project. That's 5. And Damn being 6.
It's not that good. But
it's not that good. Okay. I mean, it's kind of cut stuff, unmastered, yada, yada. All right, so he's 5 projects in. He's good enough right now where he can get an all-time ranking.
He is. It's just not going to be as high because we were kind of like expecting him to take it somewhere.
Miss Mo said, we ain't waiting on Kendrick music like that.
You may not be, but watch it go. That's what I'm saying. Just off the weight, it's going to go. Because all of y'all that are saying, like, oh, I'm tired of waiting for Kendrick, I ain't going to check for it. As soon as it drops, you're checking for it. So is Mike. Mike been the main one talking, oh, it's too late. Mike going to check the projects to drop. And not because it's our job. Not because it's our job, Mike. You're going to check because you're going to want to know.
No, I'm a Kendrick fan. Of course I want to know. Like, if he dropped it tonight, I'm playing.
So everybody... And we've been hard on him at times, I guess, in the minds of some people. But everybody needs to stop acting like they don't really want to know. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're at that stage. Kendrick is, stop acting like you don't want to know. I want to know, and I think he's coming.
Mr. Buck said Kendrick is done. He has reached his ceiling. What do you think about that? Is that legit?
I told you, Mike. This is a big telltale album. I felt. How about this, Mike? You remember the article that I wrote about Damn? Yeah. I said the next conversation about the next album at this rate is going to be if he's going to go into that highest of high stratosphere, he's tampered with some of that.
Well, see, this is the thing. Even when Damn dropped, I was like, listen, man, when you look at his catalog, album for album, and what he's been able to do in his era, and just if you stack his 5 albums against anybody all time, he's 10, 15. And if you go off of skill alone, he can rap with anybody who ever did it, skill-wise, right? But see, I think for me, what the break has done, not only just the break in itself, just the timing of the break, the fact that he's done it during a time where hip-hop got competitive again, it makes me really look at when he dropped albums, right? Like, I think Good Kid, Mad City is celebrating 10 years this year. But see, when you think about that, and we got a 5-year layoff, then okay, when was his era? 12 to 17?
Be like that sometime, Mike.
And then we start looking at who was really dominant from 12 to 17. Where were you at when Daytona dropped? Where were you at when Pray for Paris dropped? Where were you at when From a King to a God dropped? Have we heard him on a song with Benny the Butcher and Conway? Because if we talk about some of the greats and the all-time greats, Eminem included, I'll even throw Eminem in there. We've heard Eminem on records with the niggas that was popping at that time. We heard Kane on records with, Cool G Rap and with Craig G. I mean, we heard it. Like...
Hey, Mike. So, I mean, since
he's been gone, Nas with Prodigy,
right? Since he's been gone, these are the 5 best MCs in my opinion, and I want you to tell me how he gets in here. Nas, and this is my order too.
Okay.
And the only reason Pusha's lower is because we ain't heard nothing since Daytona. Nas, Conway, Gibbs, Pusha T, Benny. You think he's better than those 5 guys right now? Because I don't necessarily. And if he is, he's only better than maybe Benny, and I'm not even going to give him that.
Well, listen, I can only judge him on the Baby Kim records. And no, he's not.
He's not messing with Nas or Conway right now at all.
You heard him on those Baby Kim records?
It doesn't even matter. Yeah,
I'm just saying.
It don't matter.
Nah, ain't nobody right.
I know what I've been hearing Nas and Conway spit the last 2 years. That's what I know. Some of the best rap stuff you're gonna find from an MC. Gibbs has just been bananas. Pusha is a legend at this point. He is who he is. Benny has been posting like about Tana Talk 4. And every time he posts, The only people I see him at is Derringer and The Alchemist, which excites the fuck out of me.
People are making music, and it's like
that's what I want to hear. Like, like he has me excited for Tana Talk 4, just because he appears to be in that zone.
Leroy Green says Pusha T's overrated. Lex P says Kendrick smokes Gibbs. Let's be honest.
No, not right now. You heard Black Illuminati? You sure about that? Did you hear Scotty Beam last year? Are you sure about that? Did you hear Baby Shit? Are you sure about that? Did you hear Bandana? Did you hear him and Pusha T? Did you hear him standing next to Pusha T on Paul Olive on Bandana? That Pusha T might have had the verse of the year on that. Gibbs came off still.
Yo, you remember, what was that? When Ross dropped Port of Miami 2, was it that? Where he did the Maybach music and then there was an unreleased Pusha T verse. That verse shook the internet up way more than the verses that were actually on there. Because somebody said Pusha T ain't dropped since 2018. Pusha T's been on a run, got married, had a kid, just lost his mom. Yeah.
He made Daytona.
It happens. He made Daytona, right? And
you
even
can't
outside
remember the last
of that,
time he gave out a bad verse, Mike. It's literally
I was just about to say
years
that.
upon years since I even heard a verse that wasn't stellar. It's been years.
He's actually been active on other people's shit too, and we can't say the same for Kendrick. I mean, Mike, really, I don't even know what Kendrick sounds like right now. Kendrick could come forth with a whole new voice. Who knows? I ain't heard from Kendrick at all. Like, his whole voice could have changed. Who knows? I mean, he was on that Baby Kim, man. But let me ask y'all in the chat before we get out of here. Were y'all really impressed by his feature on the Baby Kim records?
I be taking stuff like that, like target practice, like shooting baskets. I don't be trying to weigh too much into it because it seemed like he was shooting target practice. It didn't seem like he was going for his. That didn't sound like the guy that was going for his. So I kind of treated it like,
You know what it sounded like to me? It sounded like Eminem on EPMD 2. It sounded like a very long verse, trying a whole lot of animated stuff, and bells and whistles, tricks and schemes. Like, yo, man, just come with the bars, man. And we know Kendrick could do that.
Yeah, we do.
Because what was that? It was the Black Lip Bastard remix. It was like, damn, how did that shit start? Black Lip Bastard, show me your password.
I don't remember that one. Remind me, flash me up.
What did he say? Hold. It'll kill me, man. But he killed that shit, man. It's like, check inside my parking garage and see a collage of every person I despise since the moment I turned 5. Calculate my steps and strategically took my time. Even falling off, I land on the ass of Nicki Minaj. Like, just rhyme, man. You can do that shit, man. All this, like, all that stuff, man. We don't need that. I'm not afraid stuff, man. We don't need that, Kendrick. You better than that.
You should.
So what we might try to do on Friday, if the Corday music ain't enough, we might hook up with the homies over at Rap Roundtable, and we might do a mock versus of Jay and Nas. Our team is taking Nas, and they're taking Jay, because they said that Jay would beat Nas in the verses. And we think the other way around. So we're just going to put the songs together and we're going to let the people decide. But we're working out the logistics of that now. But that might be what we do Friday.
Mike, quick question for you. Because you and I are probably about to collaborate on this list.
Right.
If you could only pick one song from the Lost Tapes to play for this versus, what would be the one that you would play?
Do-Rags is the first thing that popped in my head.
Okay, so I think Do-Rags is the best song, and arguably,
Do-Rags
is one of his 20 best songs, Mike. But this is what I mean about it. I'm playing Blaze of 50, though.
Okay, I'm fine with that. A part of me was gonna say No Ideas original too, because
I thought about No Ideas original too, because that's Nasty Nas on there too. What's better protection, God or guns? Good question. That's a hard one. That's Nasty Nas. Yeah.
I don't
but
know.
I'm going to Blaze a 50 because you only got a minute, right? Right. Blaze a 50, sit back in the drop top of Zora Bentley. Right.
This chicken made Bobby divorce Whitney. Brazilian
Candy
from Miami.
Masseuse wedding ring on, loving Celine Dion, hate rap.
Tell me what she get cake at. She's a part-time dancer, part-time romancer. I remember downloading that shit from Napster, like before the Lost Tapes. I think, yeah, it was just early. Aging myself here.
Just comes in and hits it and smashes it so hard that if you cut that at a minute, it's like, ooh, that's what I'm talking about. He's got stuff like that, and you can leave stuff like do-rags off.
Yeah. I think we should put Blaze of 50 on our list over do-rags. But again, we're not giving our full list because I know they watching and stuff.
Yeah.
We did tell them, yo, you can't really do that Jiggy J shit. It might not play well against Nas.
Because I'm a Blaze of 50.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Again, if they listen to one of our previous shows, they know which J record they should play. And this is, should be fun, though.
We'll see what they do with it. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it, too. I'm going to go ahead and set this up and see if we could possibly do it on Friday. If not, we'll work it out. We'll definitely let the people know. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to According to Hip Hop on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so you do know when we go live. And we appreciate the super chats and the cash apps and all that. And, if you want to get the hoodie, let me put this hoodie on the screen real quick. We got a couple of designs going on right now, man. This is the white version. We also have the black version. And, we can put y'all up on the links or whatnot. I think the link should be in the description bar. But, if y'all want to rep According to Hip Hop where you at, we really appreciate all the support that y'all giving, man. Like, y'all really giving it to these writers, man, and keeping a lot of people out here honest, as you should.
We outside. What up?